Hi, I'm Mr. Rowley. In this video, I'm going to explain what we mean by the literary technique called point of view. Point of view is simply the type of narration. It has to do with who's telling the story and what perspective that person has. First person is probably the easiest to understand. With first person point of view, the narrator is a character in the story. So look for I. That's your cue that the point of view is first person here. I walked into the room, I sat down, and I got out my notebook. That story, it's a story that's narrated in first person. There's really no such thing as second person, because that would be you. There are a few exceptions to that. You may remember those choose your own adventure stories where it's, you'd be in a dungeon and it would say, if you take the right fork, turn to page 12. If you take the left fork, turn to page 14. That's true second person, but that doesn't usually happen. Sometimes you may see you in a story, but they actually mean I. You know how you're sitting in class and you're so bored? The person saying that probably means I'm sitting in class and I'm bored. Third person, there are a few different types, and the other bullet points on here are all different types of third person narration. Third person just means that you have a narrator that's not a character in this story. You have somebody relating the events and the action and dialogue without being directly involved in them. So omniscient narration, you can remember this one because omni means all, and scient there, think of conscious, it basically means all-knowing. With an omniscient narrator, you have information about the thoughts and feelings of all the characters in the story. And if you think about it, that's pretty unusual to have a story that's true omniscient narration, because it's pretty hard to build conflict if you already know what everybody's thinking. Part of how you build conflict, part of how you build suspense and you move the story along is to have a certain amount of tension. And one way to do that is by, we don't know how this guy's going to react to what our main character is saying or doing, for example. So more common is what we call limited omniscient. And there, typically you'll have just one character's or possibly a few characters' thoughts and feelings, but just the actions and dialogue of the other characters. He walked into the room, he sat down, and he got out his notebook, and he wondered what the teacher would do. So in that case, that's limited omniscient. We know what the main character is thinking there, but we don't know what anybody else in the room has said, at least not yet, or what anybody else in the room is thinking. And the last type here is what we call objective or effaced narration, and those two words mean the same thing in this case. That's narration in which you don't have any thoughts or emotions, anything internal from any characters. You just have actions and dialogue. And that's a little more typical with some more modern writing, late 20th century writers on, where you have very sparse storytelling. Writers like Raymond Carver and Ernest Hemingway often have long passages without any indication of what anybody's really thinking. So that's point of view.